You can see that winter is here on the farm. It's full of lots of rain, yet there are sights of Epiphany and Christmas left around to brighten our days. Amongst the rain and the dreariness of what is left of the garden, there are bright things inside the house. And we are going to head inside today and make some coffee and tea drinks and do a little espresso machine unboxing. Many of you, if you are not new here, may be wondering what I'm doing with an espresso machine as the owner of a loose leaf tea company. But if you've been around a while, you probably also know my coffee drinking story, and that I used to be a serious coffee drinker. In fact, I was always on a coffee diet before I met the farmer. No, I'm not going back to drinking coffee. I have some other things in mind, but before I get there, back to my coffee drinking story. You see, I used to not even eat. I mostly just drank coffee, as coffee's a diet suppressant. Food wasn't actually necessary with the amount of coffee I drank. But eventually that amount of coffee got to my adrenals, the amount of caffeine. It also created some other health situations where my doctor suggested that I stop drinking caffeine. And yet, all of the warm drink alternatives were not very tasty. All of the teas that were in bags at the college I was at the time, they all tasted like weeds. And there were no tasty alternatives. Later, this would lead me to start creating my own teas that reminded me of the drinks that I used to enjoy and could no longer have. This led to the creation of what is now Farmhouse Teas and brings me back here to this espresso machine. I opted to go with this lower end espresso machine. It ran around $200, and I know for some that may not seem very low, but these can be as expensive as a car if you would like to import them from Italy. And the more serious espresso drinkers will see this as a very cheap machine. For me, I just wanted a machine to experiment with. Here I'm just getting this espresso machine set up so that I can test it out and make sure that it's functioning properly. It has this wonderful water container. I'm just going to fill it up here and snap it back into spot and then get this machine turned on. It needs to warm up and go through a few settings before I can make any espresso with it. I'm just going through the functions here, making sure that the steam wand is working and getting everything all cleaned up, getting the pump primed and ready to go. The reason that I picked this particular espresso machine was not just because the brand name is very popular and has a good reputation, but also because of its small, tiny footprint. You can see here I have just a little bit of my counter space dedicated to this, as I have plenty of other things that I do on this counter. And so I didn't want to take up a huge bunch of space. You know, the more expensive espresso machines can really take up a whole counter itself and is a giant piece of equipment. So here I'm going to go ahead and grind some fresh beans into what I'm guessing is an espresso ground. I'm learning that after experimenting with this that I really need to learn more about a proper grind so that this works well, and that will probably be coming in future videos. But for now, we're going to go ahead and just give this machine a test run and make sure that it is functioning properly with some espresso. And it looks like it's doing okay. I have a few little tips and things that I need to learn as I use this machine over time. But it's functioning fairly easily. I haven't made an espresso since high school, and so it's been a couple of decades since I've used my skill here, and I'm going to have to get some refreshers. But this is a pretty basic machine. It's pretty easy to open it and set it up and get making espresso right away. just a bit here, I'm going to share with you what I am up to with this espresso machine, and it has nothing to do with coffee. A quick break here while I clean up and switch gears. And check out these bulbs, and they're already taking off in the garden beds. It's crazy. So my plan for this espresso machine is to try our coffee alternative in it. And it's proving to take a little bit of experimenting because unlike coffee beans, our tea has many different ingredients in it and it causes it to grind differently. So we're experimenting with it as is here. It's a little bit harder to get a tamp on it in this way, but I have some plans for the future. For now, we're going to see how it works here. And nothing's coming out again. And so I'm learning. You have to have that grind just right. So we're going to try it again. I'm going to grind it a little bit finer and see if that helps. Espresso is really an art, and I know I have plenty of coffee drinking viewers as well as friends who are probably over here laughing at me. I'm committing coffee heresy by putting tea in this espresso filter and doing what I'm doing here. But hear me out. I think that we will get a nice, good drink out of this eventually. So while this did produce somewhat of a crema in there, we have some work to do, and I have some ideas up my sleeve for another video. But this was just a little experiment, and we're going to go ahead and steam up some milk and go ahead and make ourselves an herbal espresso latte. Now my shot wasn't very big here, and that's because of the grind. Not enough of the water came through to give me more of a shot there, but you can see it turned out looking like an espresso. It's not too bad for a very affordable machine and a first experiment, and it tastes pretty good. It was a little bit more work than I'd say just steeping the tea really strong, but you don't get a crema that way, and I think with some adjustments I'm going to be able to make this work. Now we're going to really experiment with this, and we're going to go ahead and put in some actual loose leaf tea. I am going to grind this. This is a golden turmeric. I'm going to make a golden milk latte, and we're going to start with the grind. And each time I grind this, I learn a little bit more about what is working and what is not working, and I'm making improvements. And I did this video a while ago and have been making all sorts of drinks in the meantime, finding lots of different ways to make this work. And it's a great little 1 cup kind of process. If you don't want to wait on tea, you can grind it. It's done very quickly. You of course have the milk frothing option and can make all sorts of wonderful tea drinks with this espresso machine. You can see here for a golden milk, that is a very, very dark color, which is a good sign. That's probably the crema showing up in there. And now I'm going to steam the milk and get that going. And this has a really easy frother on it. Now, if you're used to the really thick milk and not a ton of foam. There's some adjustments you can make to this espresso machine. But if you're just getting started, this gets the job done. So again, I have just a small shot because the water was not going through as it needed to. And there is some work to do. I'm going to sweeten it here with a little bit of maple syrup. No sugar for me. Y'all know I have that sugar allergy. And stir it up here, and then I'm going to go ahead and place my milk in. And while I probably got way more milk than I needed in here, this was my favorite drink of the 3 that I made on this espresso machine. And one of the best golden milk lattes that I've had. So a little sprinkle of turmeric on the top, and it's time to enjoy. Now I have lots and lots of drink ideas on my list to do here in the future, but I would love to know, would you leave me a comment down below? What drink would you love to see made on here? Is there a traditional espresso drink you would love to know how to make? Or perhaps there's a tea drink you would like to know how to make, whether it be in the espresso machine or not. Hazelnuts are putting off their little blooms, and apparently I missed some of those rose hips back in the summer. These are the beautiful bits of winter hiding outside. And I got called away while I was shooting the video with the golden turmeric, and so I'm back in here in another day, getting ready to make just one more drink for you all. I want to make an herbal chai, but first I'm going to take down what was left of the cocoa bar from a previous video and that we set up before Christmas, and I'm going to turn this into a full-on coffee bar. So stick with me here and I'll show you what goodies I'm going to put on here and the drink that I will make here at the end. So, of course, you need coffee if you're going to have espresso in its truest form. But I also have some jars here of tea, some hot cocoa, and also a good Earl Grey for those London fogs. I'm not making a London fog this time around. That will be there for the next time. Adding some of my favorite extracts here for flavoring. Many people use syrups in their coffees for flavoring, but since I use maple syrup and not sugar, the maple syrup can't stay out on the counter. And so these flavorings, they can stay out, and I can add a little bit and then later add my maple syrup. So it's one little extra step. All of the flavoring is not in one container. It's not in one sweetener. It's not in one cream. I mix it all together as I go to get the healthiest options possible. Now that my little cart is all set up, I'm going to scoot it back over here into the corner, and so that it's out of my way and I can make that one more drink. But first, a really quick look at what all is on my little cart. So the last drink of the day is going to be tea. I know that's probably totally a shocker. We're going to go ahead and make a chai tea latte. I'm using our herbal chai here. Now, just a heads up, most chai, or what is known as marsala properly, has a base of a black tea, but since I am not doing caffeine, I'm using our herbal chai. It's just that when I go to make the drink, there's not the difference there of the dark leaf tea. Herbal chai is very light. It has just sort of a really light amber color to it because it's full of spice, and it doesn't tend to change the look of the water a lot. So When we get to the end here, you will see what I'm talking about. But first, I'm going to turn on my water so that I can steep my tea. I steep it maybe 2 teaspoons to half as much water as I want. Depends on how strong I feel like I want my chai. And I'm just adding an extract here to my milk and my sweetener before I steam it. I was looking for vanilla to make a vanilla chai, but that seems to be the one extract that I forgot to add to my shelf. And so this will be a chocolate chai with a chocolate extract. The water is ready, and so we're going to add that to the French press here just a little bit. I'm just making a single cup here. I know it doesn't look like a ton of tea, but mostly we're just making a really strong tea because we're going to add our milk to it. Many coffee shops will use a pre-made chai mix, and those are usually full of a lot of junk, not a ton of tea, a whole lot of sweetener, and a lot of calories. And so if you're looking for something a bit healthier, this is definitely the way to go. My milk is steamed, and we are going to go ahead and set that aside while we wait for the tea to finish up and put our drink together. Our tea is ready. I'm going to go ahead and strain it in this French press and pour it into my cup. You can see it's just this really light golden color. It's not very dark at all, and so it's not going to look super impressive in this cup, but I just want to show you what it looks like. It tastes fabulous, and so don't let it scare you off from making an herbal chai. It's just a bit different than if you have the black tea. I didn't do a very good job on the milk this time, and I don't have a whole bunch of froth, but it tastes good just the same. It's now time to enjoy my drink and the view from my window of the farm, and I hope that you will leave me some drink suggestions down below, and I will catch you all next time.